Are you tired of feeling busy but never truly productive? What if you could force yourself to focus only on what truly matters and transform your life one disciplined step at a time? In this audiobook, you'll discover practical, actionable strategies to eliminate distractions, build unstoppable momentum, and design your environment for success. Each tip is designed to help you take control of your day, protect your energy, and achieve meaningful results consistently. Subscribe to Audiobook every day and unlock daily wisdom that turns intention into action, helping you grow smarter, stronger, and more disciplined every single day. Number 1. Identify essentials before anything else. There is a quiet power in refusing to scatter attention across a dozen small things and instead fixing it on the single handful that actually move life forward. The mind is happiest when it is decisive. The body follows clarity. Habits form around what is repeated with focus. Identifying what is essential is not a one-time revelation or a motivational slogan. It is a daily discipline that changes how mornings feel, how decisions are made, and how progress accumulates. When priorities are clear, the day gains shape, noise falls away, energy concentrates, and results begin to arrive with an almost inevitable steadiness. Begin by confronting 3 brutal facts. Time is limited, energy is finite, and impulse is loud. The first practical act is inventory. Sit with a blank page and list everything that claims a piece of your attention: work tasks, relationships, health practices, errands, side projects, entertainment habits. Write until the list feels exhaustively honest. The purpose is not shame. The purpose is visibility. Hidden demands drain the same energy as visible ones. Seeing them all on paper pulls them out of the fog and makes the next step possible. Next, apply a strict filter. Does this item belong to one of 3 categories: vital, necessary, optional? Vital items are those that, if neglected repeatedly, produce severe negative consequences or permanently close important doors. Necessary items maintain stability and dignity. Paying bills, basic hygiene, meeting rhythm obligations. Optional items are the nice-to-haves, the comfort habits, the social comparisons that fill time without building value. Be ruthless when assigning these labels. A tendency is to inflate the importance of anything that creates immediate discomfort or requires willpower. That is precisely the signal that the item might be vital. Conversely, anything that feels soothing and distracts for relief often fits the optional category. Turn the inventory into a compact, essential list. Choose no more than 3 vitals you will defend every day. These 3 become the core. Fewer than 3 is even better for beginners. 1 or 2 basics that, if done consistently, guarantee progress. For a creative professional, the essentials might be deep writing for 2 hours and healthful sleep. For a manager, it could be strategic planning and weekly one-on-ones with direct reports. For someone rebuilding after chaos, essentials could be consistent meals and a 30-minute walk. The exact content varies. The principle is the same: small, repeatable, high-leverage acts. Create sensory anchors for each essential so they feel concrete. Instead of exercise, write 20 minutes of brisk walking, shoes on, music off, morning light on face. Instead of work on book, write 600 words before email, sitting at the kitchen table with a timer. Sensory detail converts vague intentions into triggers that the brain can recognize and obey. The body responds to cues: light, posture, location, time of day. Use them to make the essential irresistible to the muscle memory of routine. Design a 2-minute test to verify essentials. If you can explain why this item matters for your life in 2 minutes or less, not because it feels urgent today, but because it shapes the future you want, it likely belongs on the list. If explaining takes 5 paragraphs of justification rooted in other people's opinions or fear of missing out, it probably does not deserve your prime real estate. Take a pen and state the why for each essential in a single sentence. If the sentence compels you, keep it. If it is weak, reconsider. Practical tools help lock this clarity into daily behavior. The morning triage ritual is simple. As soon as waking and before phone or feed, read your essential list aloud. Hearing the words solidifies intention. Next, perform the first hour protocol. Within the first hour, complete at least one essential task before any discretionary action. Protect that hour. Close tabs, silence notifications, put the phone face down. The first hour sets the rhythm for the rest of the day. It is where identity is named and enacted. A stoic approach reframes interruptions as invitations to exercise choice. When a distraction arrives, a message, an urgent-seeming request, a novelty, pause and ask a 3-question checklist in your mind. Is this in my control? Is this in my essential list? Will engaging be reversible? If the answer to the first 2 is no and the third is yes, postpone without guilt. If the distraction is in your essential list, act immediately. If it is in your control but essential, file it for a specific time block later. This tiny mental algorithm trains the mind to evaluate instead of react. Accountability anchors clarity to reality. Tell one person what your 3 essentials are and how you will do them for the next 7 days. Send short, daily notes of completion. The external ledger is not the point. The real point is the friction that reveals whether the essentials are truly essential to you. If reporting feels impossible, the essentials are either impractical or not aligned with your real goals. Adjust and refine until the daily report becomes a near-automatic done. There will be resistance. Resistance is the physiological mixture of discomfort and habit that seeks to protect the familiar, make the start painless. Use tiny starts to overcome inertia. Commit to just 5 minutes of an essential to begin. Set a timer for 5 minutes and work, most often, once 5 minutes is done. Continuation is natural. This is not manipulation, it is physics of momentum. The aim is to convert friction into momentum until the essential becomes part of the daily landscape. Avoid 2 traps that often sabotage clarity. First, the trap of over-optimization, endlessly refining priorities without doing them. Planning is useful only when it produces execution. Second, the trap of dogmatism, clinging to a list because of pride instead of results. Essentials are not holy relics. If a chosen essential repeatedly fails to produce meaningful forward motion after a month of sincere effort, reconsider. The discipline is to iterate, not to cling to what does not work. Use a weekly review to sharpen the essential list. Each Sunday evening, scan the week gone by. Ask, which essential moved the needle? Which ones were consistently completed? Which felt draining without payoff? Reassign or adjust, based on evidence, not mood. This review is a stoic inventory, honest, unemotional, corrective. It keeps the system honest and growing. Language matters. Replace vague commitments with declarative statements. I do my essential writing from 6 am to 7:30, 3 mornings a week, rather than I should write more. If a habit is repeatedly broken, change the statement to remove moralizing. I currently write once a week. I will increase to twice a week by next month. Statements that are specific, measurable, and time-bound change the brain's predictions about what is normal. There is moral clarity in saying no. Learn 3 no scripts that are short, respectful, and immediate. No, I can't take that on right now. No, I'm focusing on a project until Friday. No, that doesn't fit my priorities. Saying no is not a rejection of people. It is fidelity to commitments. Practice these lines aloud until they feel natural. Saying no will free up not just time, but dignity. Build an environment that reflects essentials. Remove visual clutter from the workspace. Keep cues for essentials visible. A notebook with the essential list on the desk. Shoes by the door. A water bottle filled. The environment is the habitual mind's ally. When the path of least resistance leads to the essential, follow-through becomes less about willpower and more about design. When measuring progress, prefer small, reliable metrics over grand, rare celebrations. Count days completed, word counts, meetings held, steps walked. Small metrics compound into big outcomes. Resist vanity measures that celebrate busyness instead of value. Replace "I was busy all day" with "I completed 3 essential tasks." Notice how language shifts your sense of dignity and control. Finally, practice gratitude for the discipline. Discipline is not punishment, it is a form of respect for future life. Each time an essential is completed, take a second to feel the small victory, the stack of moments that become a robust life. This is not indulgence, it solidifies identity. The brain learns faster when actions are celebrated, even in tiny ways. The work of identifying essentials is perpetual. Life changes, roles shift, and new responsibility arrive. Revisit the essential list when seasons change or stress increases. Keep the essentials short. Keep them sensory, defend them with the same intelligence given to emergencies. The everyday decision to do what is important, and only what is important, is the accumulation of tiny acts of sovereignty. Over time, the discipline becomes a character trait. Calm, unhurried, and improbably productive. Embrace the quiet power of choosing few things well, and the world will make room for what matters most. Number 2. Remove distractions to regain focus. Distractions are the silent thieves of progress. They slip into moments unnoticed, fragment attention, and steal energy meant for what truly matters. Every day is a battlefield for focus, and every distraction surrendered weakens the mind's muscle for concentration. The first step to regaining focus is acknowledgement, recognizing that distractions are not external nuisances alone. They are symptoms of an undisciplined mind. The mind drifts because it has no anchor, because priorities are unclear, because habitual impulses have been left unchecked. The path to mastery begins by confronting the nature of distraction with uncompromising honesty. Start by observing patterns. Track when attention slips over the course of a day. Is it at the start, when the body is sluggish and the mind craves novelty? Is it mid-afternoon, when fatigue coincides with external notifications? Is it in the evening, when willpower is depleted and the habit of scrolling or binging creeps in? Writing down the exact moments when focus dissolves creates a map of vulnerability. The map is a tool, not a judgment. Awareness is the precondition for intervention. Without seeing the exact timing, duration, and triggers of distractions, the fight is abstract and ineffective. Next, distinguish between low-value distractions and high-value interruptions. Low-value distractions are those that neither contribute to your goals nor support necessary recovery. Random browsing, gossip, compulsive messaging. High-value interruptions are moments that may be urgent or meaningful, but are not time-sensitive. The discipline lies in separating the two with deliberate rules. Ask a simple question before engaging with anything. Does this serve my immediate priority, or can it wait? Most impulses can wait, and by delaying them, you reclaim control. Delay is a surprisingly effective weapon against compulsive attention-grabbing stimuli. Control the environment to control the mind. The spaces we inhabit dictate the ease with which distractions invade our attention. Workspaces cluttered with notifications, open tabs, or non-essential items invite the mind to wander. Create zones dedicated to focus. A desk clear of unrelated objects, a phone placed out of reach, browser extensions or apps that block unproductive sites. Environmental cues serve as silent partners in discipline. When the easiest path is toward focus, the brain follows without argument. Conversely, leaving every distraction within arm's reach guarantees a battle of willpower that tires and eventually loses. Adopt structured work intervals. The human mind thrives on defined periods of effort, followed by brief rest. The Pomodoro method, or similar time block strategies, creates a rhythm that encourages immersion while respecting natural attentional cycles. During these blocks, all non-essential inputs are cut off. No messages, no feeds, no multitasking. Complete absorption is possible only when the mind is free from competing signals. Short breaks allow the mind to rest without ceding control. They prevent exhaustion from undermining focus. Over time, these intervals condition the brain to enter a state of deep work on demand, making distractions less seductive. Train attention like a muscle. Meditation or mindfulness exercises are not abstract luxury. They are practical tools to strengthen sustained concentration. Even 5 minutes a day of observing thoughts without reacting builds tolerance to interruptions. The practice teaches patience, the ability to return to a chosen point of focus despite wandering impulses. Attention, like a muscle, grows when challenged incrementally. Start small. Watch a single object, a candle flame, or the breath. Each session reinforces the capacity to resist distractions in daily tasks. The skill transfers naturally into productivity. Digital habits are often the largest culprits. Every notification, social media scroll, or news alert hijacks attention by exploiting reward circuits. Set strict boundaries for digital consumption. Allocate specific times for email, messaging, and social media. Turn off non-essential notifications. Consider separate devices or accounts for work and leisure. Each barrier reduces the friction between intention and execution. Modern life makes distraction effortless. Discipline restores balance. The simplicity of a phone left in another room or an app blocked for the day demonstrates how small adjustments yield large gains. Physical states influence susceptibility to distraction. Hunger, dehydration, sleep deprivation, and lack of movement diminish cognitive control, making it harder to resist impulses. Regular meals, hydration, and short bouts of movement can drastically improve attention. A mind in optimal condition resists diversion naturally. A depleted mind is prey. Before tackling high-priority work, ensure the body's basic needs are met. The pursuit of focus is not only mental, it is embodied. Treat the body as the foundation for concentration, not an afterthought. Distractions often arise from unclear goals. When the destination is vague, the mind seeks stimulation elsewhere. Clarity in objectives is a form of defense. Each day, define exactly what must be accomplished and why it matters. Write these goals in visible form and review them throughout the day. When the mind wanders, the tangible list acts as a tether, pulling attention back to what is truly significant. Unclear goals invite wandering. Defined goals demand allegiance. Distraction thrives in ambiguity and loses power in clarity. Introduce deliberate pauses for processing. Not all wandering is harmful. Some reflection can generate insight. Schedule thinking time where the mind is free to explore without action pressure. This reduces the unconscious drift into low-value distractions. The mind knows it will have a space to process, reducing anxiety that often drives compulsive checks or random tasks. Structure, rather than suppression, tames the wandering mind. Accountability reinforces attention. Share your focus plan with a peer or mentor. Commit to completing tasks without deviation, reporting completion at defined intervals. Accountability converts abstract intentions into social contracts, adding a layer of obligation that strengthens adherence. It leverages human nature constructively. External visibility heightens internal commitment. The combination of self-discipline and shared oversight is particularly effective against the lure of distraction. Finally, cultivate patience and acceptance. The mind will stray. Focus is rarely perfect at first. Each interruption is an opportunity to return with renewed intent, not a reason for guilt. Repetition builds resilience. Each recovery strengthens control. Mastery of distraction is iterative. Success is measured not in perfection, but in the growing frequency with which attention returns to essentials despite noise. Discipline becomes identity, and the habit of focus transforms the quality of work, thought, and life. Regaining focus is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice, a constant engagement with choice and control. Every distraction removed is an investment in mental clarity and personal effectiveness. By observing patterns, controlling the environment, structuring attention, fortifying the body, clarifying objectives, and creating accountability, the mind learns to act decisively, to guard energy, and to concentrate deeply. In this practice lies freedom. The ability to engage with what truly matters without constant interruption, to move through tasks with clarity and presence, and to emerge at the end of each day with a tangible sense of accomplishment. Focus is reclaimed, one conscious choice at a time. Number 3. Schedule priorities with disciplined commitment. Life does not honor good intentions alone. Dreams, goals, and aspirations remain fragile ideas until they are anchored in a schedule, reinforced by habit, and protected by disciplined commitment. A day without structure is a battlefield with no strategy. Energy is scattered, important tasks get delayed, and the mind drifts toward convenience rather than necessity. Discipline in scheduling is not about rigidity for its own sake. It is about creating a reliable architecture that allows priorities to manifest consistently, transforming intention into action. Begin by understanding the weight of each task. Not everything deserves the same amount of attention. Some responsibilities carry disproportionate consequences if neglected, while others offer fleeting gratification with minimal impact. Categorize tasks not by urgency alone, but by value and long-term effect. The most important items, the high-leverage tasks, deserve fixed blocks in your day. These blocks are non-negotiable. Treat them as immovable appointments with yourself, as sacred commitments. Protecting them is not optional. It is a form of integrity that compounds over time into measurable progress. The act of scheduling starts with clarity. Each morning, or preferably the evening before, write down what must be accomplished the next day. Use precise language and allocate realistic time frames. Instead of vague statements like "work on project," define draft 2 sections of the report between 9 and 11 hours. Clear boundaries prevent the mind from rationalizing procrastination. Time is finite, and specificity is the difference between scattered effort and focused execution. The brain responds to clear instructions. Ambiguity invites delay. Anchor tasks to natural rhythms. Observe when mental energy peaks and assign demanding responsibilities to those periods. Many people waste morning clarity on low-value activities, leaving crucial tasks for the hours when fatigue and distraction are at their peak. Identify when focus is strongest and schedule high-priority work accordingly. Routine builds reliability. The body and mind adapt, reducing resistance and increasing the consistency of productive output. Timing is a subtle yet powerful form of leverage. Break larger goals into actionable units. Massive undertakings are paralyzing if treated as monoliths. A disciplined schedule converts overwhelming objectives into manageable components. Instead of finish book manuscript, list chapters, subsections, or word counts. Assign each piece to a specific slot in your day. Completion of small units creates momentum and psychological reinforcement. The mind celebrates progress in tangible chunks, which builds the confidence necessary to maintain commitment across weeks or months. Action is more effective when divided into concrete steps. Incorporate intentional buffers. Life is unpredictable. Interruptions occur. Scheduling with flexibility does not mean sacrificing discipline. It means respecting reality. Allocate short windows for unexpected tasks or urgent communications. These buffers prevent minor disruptions from derailing the entire plan. Without them, strict schedules collapse under the weight of unpredictability, breeding frustration and demotivation. Anticipating minor deviations is a mark of strategic discipline, not weakness. Use the power of time blocking. Assign each priority a specific window, and during that time, dedicate full attention to the task at hand. Multitasking is an illusion. Attention cannot be shared without loss of quality. Time blocking forces commitment by creating visible boundaries. The brain and body recognize these temporal markers as signals to engage fully. During these blocks, eliminate competing stimuli, silence notifications, close irrelevant tabs, and ensure the workspace supports deep work. Protecting each block is the practical expression of self-respect and discipline. Create accountability mechanisms within the schedule. Self-reporting, sharing daily plans with a trusted peer, or maintaining a visible checklist reinforces adherence. External visibility magnifies commitment, converting abstract intentions into tangible obligations. A schedule without follow-through is merely a suggestion. Accountability converts it into a contract with oneself. Over time, repeated adherence reinforces habit, reducing the cognitive friction required to initiate and complete prioritized tasks. Prioritize ruthlessly. Every day contains more potential actions than there is time to complete. Not all tasks deserve equal placement. Evaluate each commitment. Does it align with your long-term objectives? Or is it a distraction dressed as urgency? Drop, delegate, or defer non-essential items. Scheduling is not about cramming as much as possible into hours. It is about concentrating energy on what truly matters. Selective focus is the practical expression of disciplined commitment, distinguishing those who achieve from those who drift. Integrate review points into the day. Midday or evening reflections allow course corrections and reinforce awareness of how well priorities are being honored. Ask simple questions. Are the most important tasks completed? Was focus maintained on the highest value items? What adjustments are needed tomorrow? This iterative feedback loop strengthens adherence to the schedule, prevents unnoticed drift, and ensures learning from patterns of distraction or overcommitment. Discipline grows not only from execution, but from observation and adaptation. Honor rituals that anchor commitment. Rituals are cues that prepare the mind and body for disciplined action. Morning routines that begin with the highest priority task, short pre-task meditation, or preparation of materials the night before are examples. Rituals reduce friction and resistance by converting preparation into a habitual signal. Over time, they create automatic pathways that guide behavior with minimal reliance on fluctuating willpower. The more predictable the cues, the stronger the habit of execution becomes. Recognize the importance of energy management alongside time management. Scheduling alone is insufficient if the mind and body are drained. Include breaks, meals, hydration, and movement in your plan. Fatigue erodes discipline faster than distraction. Integrate recovery intentionally to sustain intensity during high-priority blocks. The most disciplined schedule balances effort with renewal, ensuring longevity and consistency. Execution is sustained not by martyrdom, but by intelligent design of the day's flow. Commitment is reinforced through tangible measurement. Track completion of scheduled priorities daily. Use simple metrics, tasks completed, blocks adhered to, objectives achieved. The visual representation of success provides reinforcement and highlights deviations. Measurement is not a tool of judgment, but a mirror that reflects reality. It illuminates where commitment is strong and where adjustments are necessary, enabling continuous improvement. Without this feedback, even a well-crafted schedule becomes a guesswork exercise. Anticipate resistance and counter it with pre-planned strategies. Procrastination, fatigue, and distraction are predictable adversaries. Prepare tactics to maintain commitment. Set a timer to initiate the task. Enlist an accountability partner or begin with a minimal action to trigger momentum. Small, deliberate steps prevent hesitation from expanding into hours of delay. Commitment is strengthened by preemptive design, not reliance on spontaneous motivation. Strategy mitigates the natural friction of action. Finally, embed reflection at the end of the day. Discipline in scheduling is not static, it is adaptive. Review completed tasks, evaluate adherence to time blocks, and adjust priorities for the following day. Reflect on emotional and physical responses to the schedule. Identify patterns. When was focus strongest? When did commitment falter? And why? This reflection transforms routine into a living system, continuously calibrated for maximum alignment with objectives. Over time, disciplined scheduling becomes an expression of mastery over one's attention, energy, and life trajectory. Scheduling priorities with disciplined commitment is more than planning. It is the architecture of a life that honors intention over impulse. Every deliberate block of time, every defended focus period, every reviewed and adjusted plan is a statement of control and purpose. It transforms abstract goals into tangible achievements and unpredictable days into consistent progress. When priorities are scheduled, attended to, and protected with discipline, the mind moves with clarity. Decisions are effortless and accomplishment becomes inevitable. Discipline converts the simple act of planning into the powerful habit of achieving what truly matters, day after day. Number 4. Track progress through daily accountability. Progress is invisible until it is measured. Without daily accountability, effort drifts into illusion and intentions fade without ever producing tangible results. Many people work tirelessly, believing they are moving forward, only to discover weeks or months later that their actions have scattered into inconsequential outcomes. Tracking progress is not about punishment or self-criticism. It is about creating a mirror that reflects reality, showing what truly advances goals and what merely occupies time. The practice of daily accountability transforms vague aspirations into measurable, actionable growth. Begin by defining the metrics that matter. What constitutes meaningful progress in your life right now? These are not arbitrary measurements or vanity indicators of busyness. They are actions and results that move you closer to your most important goals. For a writer, it might be words completed or chapters drafted. For a professional, it could be client meetings, reports submitted, or strategic milestones achieved. For personal development, it could be time invested in learning a skill, exercising, or practicing mindfulness. Choose metrics that directly align with your priorities, rather than ones that simply feel productive in the moment. Next, make the measurement habitual. Accountability works when it is consistent, daily, and unavoidable. Decide on a fixed time each day to review and record progress. This could be the first hour of the morning to assess the previous day or the last 30 minutes of the evening to reflect before sleep. The act of daily evaluation prevents small failures from accumulating unnoticed and allows for rapid correction. Consistency builds rhythm, and rhythm builds reliability, turning accountability into a habit rather than a sporadic exercise. Keep the tracking system simple and visible. Complexity is the enemy of follow-through. A notebook, a spreadsheet, or a simple app suffices if it clearly displays actions completed and goals achieved. Each entry should answer the question, "What did I accomplish today that moves me toward my goal?" Visual representation, check marks, bars, or charts, provides immediate reinforcement and a tangible sense of achievement. Seeing cumulative progress creates momentum, encouraging further action. Progress becomes both motivating and undeniable when it is recorded in a way that cannot be ignored. Pair measurement with reflection. Recording what was done is not enough. Understanding how and why results occurred is equally important. Ask yourself which actions were effective, which fell short, what distractions or obstacles interfered with execution, which habits facilitated success. Reflection is the analytical layer of accountability. It transforms raw data into insight. This process illuminates patterns, strengths, and weaknesses, creating a feedback loop that allows daily adaptation and improvement. Introduce external accountability where possible. Sharing your goals and daily progress with a peer, mentor, or group adds social reinforcements. Knowing that someone else will see your results strengthens commitment and reduces the likelihood of excuses. External accountability is not about judgment. It is about creating a network of alignment where your intentions are reinforced by connection. Even minimal reporting, one message per day, generates a disproportionate effect on adherence, reinforcing the habit of action through social expectation. Use incremental tracking to leverage momentum. Break large goals into measurable sub-goals that can be completed and recorded daily. The human mind responds strongly to completion cues. Even small successes trigger motivation and reinforce identity. Writing 10 pages, sending 3 client proposals, or completing 30 minutes of focused study may seem modest, but repeated daily, these actions compound into significant outcomes. Progress is cumulative, and daily accountability ensures that each step, no matter how small, is recognized and celebrated. Identify and record obstacles transparently. Tracking progress is not just about victories. It is about confronting challenges honestly. Note distractions, delays, or mistakes that occur. Without acknowledging them, patterns remain hidden, and the same errors repeat. Observing obstacles daily allows for proactive adjustments. If certain distractions consistently impede progress, strategies can be designed to mitigate them. Accountability reveals not only success, but the resistance that must be overcome to achieve it. Pair action with time-bound evaluation. Every recorded task should be anchored in a time frame, such as a day or week. This prevents the deferral of results and ensures that accomplishments are tied to specific periods. Time-based evaluation increases urgency and clarifies expectations. The mind responds differently when a deadline is explicit, focus sharpens, and procrastination diminishes. Daily accountability anchored in time converts intention into action and ensures that no effort drifts unnoticed. Celebrate completion consciously. Recognition reinforces discipline and creates a positive feedback loop. Each task completed, each metric achieved, is a signal to the brain that effort leads to results. Celebrating does not mean indulgence, it means acknowledgement of reality. Simple gestures, checking a box, marking a page, or noting progress in a journal, solidify achievement and increase the likelihood of sustaining effort over the long term. Reinforcement, through small celebrations, strengthens identity as a person who follows through, not merely one who plans. Use accountability to detect trends. Daily records accumulate into weekly and monthly patterns. Review these regularly to identify growth trajectories, recurring challenges, and opportunities for improvement. Patterns reveal whether actions are producing proportional results or if strategies need adjustment. Without tracking, trends remain invisible until failure or success is already entrenched. Daily accountability acts as an early warning system, offering insight that allows for rapid course corrections before minor issues become major setbacks. Integrate qualitative reflection alongside quantitative measurement. Numbers alone tell only part of the story. Include notes on mood, energy levels, challenges faced, and lessons learned. This narrative context explains fluctuations in performance and uncovers factors affecting productivity that numbers alone cannot capture. Over time, the qualitative record provides rich insights into personal habits, environmental influences, and psychological patterns that drive or hinder progress. This holistic approach ensures accountability informs both action and understanding. Design a visual feedback loop. Charts, streaks, and progress bars are more than aesthetic. They externalize commitment. The brain reacts powerfully to visible signs of accomplishment and gaps. By observing progress as a continuous line or accumulating tally, motivation is reinforced and deviation from commitment becomes obvious. Visualization transforms abstract effort into concrete evidence of growth. The external representation of success encourages consistent behavior and deepens internal discipline. Finally, maintain integrity with yourself. Accountability is only as strong as the honesty behind it. Record tasks accurately, without exaggeration or omission. Integrity is the foundation of discipline. Cheating oneself undermines the entire system. The value of accountability lies in the truth it reveals. By committing to honest reporting, patterns of strength and weakness are clearly seen, enabling improvement. Self-honesty in tracking progress transforms accountability from a ritual into a tool of empowerment, ensuring that each day contributes genuinely to the life you intend to build. Daily accountability transforms effort into measurable achievement, creating a bridge between intention and reality. Tracking actions, reflecting on results, confronting obstacles, and celebrating completion builds clarity, momentum, and self-trust. Over time, the accumulation of small, consistently recorded efforts compounds into tangible success. Each day becomes a building block in a structure of deliberate accomplishment, reinforcing identity, sharpening focus, and cultivating the discipline necessary to achieve meaningful goals. Through daily accountability, progress ceases to be accidental and becomes inevitable, a direct consequence of conscious, disciplined action. Number 5. Eliminate optional tasks every morning. Every morning presents a choice: to surrender to convenience and clutter, or to command the day with clarity and purpose. Optional tasks, those trivial, non-essential actions that accumulate unnoticed, are subtle thieves of time and energy. They masquerade as productivity, filling the day with motion without meaning. The discipline of eliminating these tasks first thing in the morning is an act of sovereignty over one's attention, energy, and life. It is not about doing less out of laziness. It is about creating space for what truly matters and defending it fiercely. Begin by cataloging everything that claims a sliver of your time. Write down all recurring obligations, habitual distractions, minor tasks, and pleasant diversions. Seeing them listed concretely allows recognition of patterns that are usually invisible. Optional tasks often appear harmless in isolation: checking social media, responding to non-urgent emails, minor errands, but collectively they consume a disproportionate amount of mental bandwidth. Naming them is the first step toward eliminating their silent dominion over your day. Next, establish a filtering criterion. Ask for each task: does this contribute meaningfully to my highest priorities, long-term goals, or essential daily actions? If the answer is no, classify it as optional. The clarity comes from ruthlessness. Optional tasks are not necessarily negative, they are merely non-essential. Their removal is not punishment, it is a strategic act of liberation. By removing the optional first thing, energy is preserved for what genuinely shapes outcomes, and the mind gains a sense of control that is immediately empowering. Create a morning ritual around elimination. Before engaging with email, phone, or news, spend 15 minutes identifying and consciously removing optional tasks. Delete unnecessary notifications, postpone non-critical commitments, and clear low-priority items from the day's agenda. This initial act sends a powerful signal to the mind: the day will be structured around impact, not distraction. The ritual converts decision-making from reactive to deliberate, creating psychological momentum that carries through the entire day. Use time blocking in tandem with elimination. When optional tasks are removed, the resulting freed time must be intentionally allocated to essential activities. Assign each high-priority task a specific window, and during that period, focus exclusively on it. Eliminating optional tasks alone is insufficient if the freed time is left unstructured. Intentional allocation ensures that energy is redirected toward meaningful outcomes rather than diffused into another set of minor or pleasant diversions. Discipline is most effective when paired with structure. Build awareness of habitual optional tasks. Many of these activities are unconscious. They appear automatically, triggered by boredom, habit, or environment. Morning reflection allows recognition of these patterns. Identify what actions typically fill idle moments: scrolling news feeds, checking messages, attending unnecessary meetings, performing trivial errands. Once identified, plan proactive barriers. Move the phone out of reach. Postpone non-urgent tasks, decline invitations, and simplify routines to minimize triggers. Awareness is the foundation of prevention. Action without recognition is merely chance. Externalize priorities to reinforce the elimination of optional tasks. Create a visible list of what truly matters each day and keep it within sight. Each time the mind drifts toward an optional task, the list serves as a tether, bringing focus back to the essential. This visual anchor turns abstract intention into a concrete reminder, reducing the mental load required to resist minor distractions. The brain responds to signals in its environment. Positioning priority in plain view strengthens adherence to disciplined action. Introduce deliberate batching. Optional tasks that are unavoidable, such as minor administrative duties, household chores, or routine communications, should be grouped and handled in designated windows rather than scattered randomly throughout the day. This prevents fragmentation of attention and preserves cognitive energy for high-value work. Batching converts necessary but low-impact activities from distractions into controlled operations, allowing focus to remain unbroken during prime nerves of productivity. Time becomes a tool, not a trap. Set boundaries with others early. Optional demands often come from external sources: colleagues, friends, or family, expecting immediate attention. Begin the morning by communicating limits. Clearly state which hours are dedicated to essential work and when interruptions will be addressed. Protecting the start of the day is critical. Early interruptions shape the remainder of hours and can derail focus entirely. The act of setting boundaries is a demonstration of self-respect and prioritization that both protects and signals the seriousness of your commitments. Adopt a minimalist mindset regarding tasks. Question the necessity of each action. Is this task genuinely valuable, or am I performing it out of habit, guilt, or social expectation? Optional tasks frequently masquerade as obligations because of cultural pressure or internalized duty rather than measurable impact. Cultivating discernment in evaluating tasks increases efficiency and reinforces clarity. Each eliminated optional task is a victory for attention, a reinforcement that the day is governed by choice rather than by accident or inertia. Pair elimination with energy management. Optional tasks often sap more than just time. They drain emotional and cognitive energy. By removing these minor distractions first, mental reserves are preserved for work that requires deep focus and creativity. The body and mind are interconnected. Unnecessary mental clutter manifests as fatigue, stress, and scattered attention. Prioritizing essential work while eliminating optional tasks maintains clarity, stamina, and resilience throughout the day. Discipline is not solely intellectual, it is physiological as well. Track the impact of removal. Maintain a record of optional tasks eliminated and the resulting increase in meaningful output. This feedback loop reinforces the habit, demonstrating tangible benefits of early action. Seeing the cumulative effect over weeks solidifies belief in the process and motivates further adherence. It converts an abstract principle into measurable gains, making the daily act of elimination not only practical but rewarding. The mind responds powerfully to evidence of success, reinforcing long-term behavior change. Prepare alternatives for mental rest. Optional tasks often creep in as substitutes for recovery or stimulation. Without them, the mind may initially resist focus. Design small, intentional breaks or micro-rewards that restore energy without sacrificing attention. Walks, brief stretching, controlled breathing, or short reflective pauses satisfy the need for relief while preserving the integrity of the essential schedule. The strategy is to replace accidental diversions with deliberate restorative practices that support continued performance. Embrace a habit of reflection each morning. Beyond listing and eliminating optional tasks, consider the psychological effect. What urges or habits drive these minor activities? Understanding the underlying motivations allows refinement of routines and preemptive countermeasures. By observing oneself with honesty, the mind develops insight into tendencies that would otherwise sabotage focus. This self-awareness is critical in reinforcing long-term discipline and ensuring that elimination of optional tasks is sustainable, not temporary. Finally, cultivate the mindset that elimination is empowerment. The act of consciously removing optional tasks is not restriction, it is liberation. Freed time, energy, and mental clarity become instruments for achieving what truly matters. Each morning becomes a declaration of control over the day, a reinforcement of values, and a strategic choice to prioritize substance over superficial activity. Over time, this practice compounds, decisions become sharper, attention becomes unshakable, and productivity is consistently aligned with purpose. The disciplined removal of optional tasks transforms daily routine into a high-leverage system for lifelong effectiveness. Number 6. Build momentum using tiny starts. Momentum is the hidden engine behind every achievement. Large goals can feel paralyzing, and the sheer size of a task often keeps people stuck in hesitation, delaying action indefinitely. The solution is deceptively simple: Begin with small, almost imperceptible steps. Tiny starts generate movement, and movement builds energy. Even the smallest progress signals the brain that action is possible, triggering a chain reaction that accumulates into consistent, meaningful momentum over time. The principle is not about speed, but initiation. Starting is the catalyst for everything that follows. The mind resists change because large undertakings overwhelm perception. A full manuscript, a major project, or a significant lifestyle change appears daunting, activating fear and inertia. Tiny starts circumvent this barrier by lowering the threshold for entry. Writing a single paragraph, making one phone call, or completing the first item on a list feels manageable, requiring minimal energy, while signaling that the journey has begun. Action begets action. The psychological resistance that immobilizes is dissolved once the first step is taken. Even minimal effort produces disproportionate motivational returns. Consistency is reinforced by repetition. Daily tiny starts create a habitual rhythm that accumulates over time. The act of starting, regardless of immediate completion, trains the brain to associate effort with accomplishment. A habit of initiation reduces procrastination because the mind becomes conditioned to move naturally from inaction to action. The pattern becomes self-perpetuating. Each small beginning triggers confidence, making subsequent steps easier, faster, and more natural. Momentum grows geometrically rather than linearly when the initiation itself is repeated consistently. Clarity amplifies the effect of tiny starts. Knowing exactly what to begin with eliminates hesitation and cognitive friction. Ambiguity invites procrastination. Specificity promotes immediate action. Break larger goals into micro-tasks that can be initiated in a few minutes. For example, instead of work on presentation, specify write the opening slide or draft one paragraph. The smaller the entry point, the more likely action will occur. Once the first micro step is underway, the brain often continues naturally into the next, extending progress without conscious struggle. Pair tiny starts with visible tracking. Recording each initial action, no matter how small, reinforces achievement and strengthens motivation. A simple checklist or journal entry documenting that the day has begun in alignment with priorities validates effort and builds momentum. Visibility transforms abstract progress into concrete evidence, reminding the brain that movement is occurring even when the larger goal remains distant. Small actions, when consistently tracked, compound into significant measurable results, bridging the gap between intention and accomplishment. Leverage micro-habits to sustain growth. Tiny starts should integrate seamlessly into routines, reducing the reliance on willpower, linking a small initial action to an existing habit, like writing one sentence after morning coffee or doing one push-up before breakfast, makes initiation automatic. The cumulative effect of these micro-actions, repeated daily, produces exponential gains over time. Habit stacking, combined with minimal starting points, converts momentum into durable progress and creates an effortless pathway from intention to sustained achievement. Recognize the role of psychology in initiation. Motivation often arrives after action, not before it. Waiting for inspiration to strike is counterproductive. It rarely aligns with goals. By starting even minimally, the brain is engaged. Attention is focused, and motivation naturally follows. Tiny starts exploit this principle, using motion as a trigger for engagement rather than relying on pre-existing energy. Action primes the mind for deeper effort, transforming hesitation into purposeful execution. Minimize initial friction. Preparation and simplicity are essential to tiny starts. Reduce barriers that prevent immediate engagement, keep materials ready, clear the workspace, and remove unnecessary decisions that impede initiation. Complexity discourages beginning, while simplicity encourages it. When the first step requires minimal effort, the mind is more likely to act, and the initial action serves as a springboard into larger sustained efforts. Momentum is built not by massive leaps, but by reducing resistance to small movement. Time-bound micro-initiatives enhance focus. Allocate a brief window, 5 to 10 minutes, for the tiny start. The limited duration lowers mental resistance and creates a defined boundary for engagement. Paradoxically, a small time commitment often leads to extended action, as completion within the window generates energy and confidence to continue. The structured approach transforms starting into an intentional ritual rather than a chance occurrence, embedding momentum into daily routine. Use incremental progress to reinforce self-efficacy. Each tiny start completed provides evidence that goals are achievable. Repeated proof of competence cultivates confidence, reducing anxiety associated with large tasks. The psychological impact of these micro-successes is substantial. The mind begins to anticipate success, increasing willingness to initiate future action. Momentum thrives on accumulated evidence that effort leads to tangible progress, even if that progress is initially small or partial. Anticipate and embrace initial imperfection. Tiny starts are not about immediate mastery or flawless execution. They are about creating movement. Perfectionism often prevents action entirely, but a minimal viable step bypasses the need for readiness. Accepting imperfection allows the start to happen, and subsequent actions improve naturally as momentum builds. Early progress need not be brilliant, it simply needs to exist. The discipline lies in beginning, not in immediate excellence. Combine tiny starts with strategic escalation. After initial engagement, consciously expand effort. A 5-minute start can evolve into 30 minutes or more as focus deepens. The transition from micro-action to full engagement is natural because the first step overcomes inertia. Momentum accelerates organically when initial energy is transformed into sustained, larger-scale effort. Incremental escalation ensures that the brain remains engaged without being overwhelmed by sudden demands, maintaining steady progress. Reflect on the cumulative power of tiny starts. Progress may appear negligible in a single day, but repeated micro-actions compound dramatically over weeks and months. The accumulation of small steps creates outcomes that surpass sporadic bursts of high effort. Momentum is a force that builds invisibly, and tiny starts are the seed. Regular reflection on accumulated gains reinforces belief in the process, sustaining commitment even when immediate results seem minor or slow. Anchor tiny starts in purpose. Every micro-action should connect to a larger objective, no matter how small it appears. Momentum without direction is wasted energy. Movement must align with meaningful goals to have lasting impact. Awareness of the ultimate aim transforms trivial action into purposeful progress. Each small step, when tethered to a clear purpose, contributes to a trajectory of achievement rather than random activity. Finally, cultivate patience and trust in the process. Tiny starts may seem insignificant initially, but they create an unstoppable forward motion when repeated consistently. Momentum is rarely sudden. It is gradual, compounding silently until the results become visible. Trust in the accumulation of small efforts allows perseverance even when immediate outcomes are modest. By committing to daily initiation, even in minimal increments, progress becomes inevitable, and the seemingly impossible is achieved one tiny start at a time. Number 7. Protect energy for highest priorities. Energy is the currency of high achievement, and without careful management, even the clearest goals can falter. Time alone is not the limiting factor in accomplishing meaningful work. Energy is every distraction, every minor task, and every unnecessary engagement draws from the finite reserves that the mind and body need for work that truly matters. Protecting energy for the highest priorities is not indulgent, it is strategic. It is the difference between scattered effort and deliberate, impactful accomplishment, between merely being busy and actually progressing toward one's objectives. Begin by understanding personal energy patterns. Each person experiences peaks and troughs in focus, clarity and vitality throughout the day. Some have mornings of razor-sharp concentration, others feel most alert late at night. Observing these natural rhythms is the first step in safeguarding energy for the most important work. When priorities align with periods of highest energy, tasks that require creativity, deep focus, or critical thinking are executed with maximum efficiency. Wasting these peak hours on trivial matters is a silent surrender of potential. Eliminate energy leaks deliberately. Not all tasks are created equal, and many consume far more effort than their value warrants. Unnecessary meetings, endless scrolling through notifications, minor administrative chores, or conversations that add little to objectives all siphon mental and physical vitality. Identifying these drains and removing them from the schedule is essential. Doing so may require saying no assertively, declining engagements that do not align with goals, and setting firm boundaries with others. Energy is a finite resource, and protecting it requires intentionality. Prioritize high-value work above all else. Once energy is safeguarded, it must be deployed strategically. Allocate peak hours for tasks that have the greatest long-term impact, whether they are creative projects, strategic planning, or skill development. Low-priority activities should be scheduled for times when energy naturally dips. By matching task importance to available energy, efficiency and output are maximized. This alignment is critical. Even small energy misallocations can result in reduced performance on the tasks that matter most. Build routines that conserve energy. Habits reduce cognitive load, preventing unnecessary depletion of willpower. Daily structures, consistent wake times, and predictable sequences for work and rest allow the mind to operate efficiently. Rituals for starting high-priority tasks, such as a brief preparation period or focused breathing, reduce transition friction and preserve mental clarity. Conserving energy through repetition ensures that precious cognitive resources are reserved for decisions and tasks that cannot be automated or delegated. Guard against multitasking. Attempting to divide attention between several activities depletes energy rapidly and reduces the quality of output. High-priority tasks demand singular focus, free from interruption. Silence notifications, close irrelevant applications, and isolate oneself from potential disturbances during periods of critical work. Energy is exponentially drained when it is split, but it is amplified when concentrated. The discipline to focus entirely on one task at a time is an essential skill for sustained accomplishment. Incorporate restorative practices into daily routines. Energy is not inexhaustible, and high-priority work is unsustainable without replenishment. Breaks, physical movement, proper nutrition, hydration, and sleep are not optional. They are the foundation of productive energy. Even brief periods of rest between demanding tasks allow the mind to recover and return to focus with renewed intensity. Protecting energy for critical priorities includes investing in recovery proactively rather than reacting to fatigue after it appears. Batch low-priority tasks strategically. While certain obligations cannot be eliminated, they can be managed to minimize their impact on energy reserves. Grouping minor activities together in predetermined windows prevents constant fragmentation of focus and preserves mental clarity for high-priority work. This approach ensures that energy is not scattered randomly throughout the day, but is allocated in blocks, maximizing productivity while maintaining control over cognitive resources. Recognize psychological energy drains. Not all depletion comes from physical tasks. Emotional and mental disturbances consume significant energy. Negative environments, toxic relationships, and unnecessary conflicts undermine focus and motivation. Protecting energy for priorities requires awareness and proactive avoidance of situations that provoke undue stress or distraction. Emotional boundaries are as important as time boundaries. They ensure that high-value work is not compromised by preventable mental exhaustion. Leverage micro-decision strategies. Decision fatigue is a silent energy thief. Simplify choices related to routine, diet, attire, and minor work processes to conserve mental resources for critical decisions. Establish defaults where possible and automate low-impact decisions. By reducing unnecessary cognitive expenditure, energy is preserved for creative problem-solving and strategic thinking, where it has the highest return on investment. Monitor and track energy levels consciously. Awareness of how the body and mind respond to tasks throughout the day allows proactive management. If energy is dwindling, prioritize restorative practices, delegate less critical work, or adjust the schedule. Tracking patterns over time reveals cycles of high and low capacity, enabling precise allocation of focus for maximum effect. Energy management is not reactive, but anticipatory. It is guided by insight and observation. Protecting energy also means honoring the depth of work. Deep, meaningful engagement requires sustained concentration, free from interruptions. Limit shallow work that fragments attention during periods designated for high-priority tasks. Batch shallow tasks in lower energy windows and reserve the full mental capacity of peak periods for tasks that yield significant results. The depth of effort directly correlates to the quality of outcome, and energy is the medium through which depth is expressed. Create physical environments that enhance energy conservation. Light, noise, temperature, and ergonomics impact mental and physical stamina. Design spaces that minimize strain and maximize comfort without sacrificing focus. A cluttered or chaotic workspace drains attention and energy unnecessarily. A well-structured, supportive environment amplifies the ability to sustain focus on important work, making the protection of energy practical and immediate. Anchor priorities in long-term goals. Energy protection is futile if deployed on trivial short-term tasks. Maintain clarity about the overarching objectives that give meaning to daily work. Use this clarity to filter decisions, ensuring that energy is consistently channeled into activities that align with personal and professional vision. Daily discipline is reinforced when energy allocation serves a purpose greater than momentary satisfaction or convenience. Finally, cultivate a mindset of disciplined stewardship. Energy is a resource, like money or time, and must be managed with intention and care. Recognize that each choice, whether to engage in a low-value task, react to an unnecessary request, or overcommit emotionally, has a cost in terms of cognitive and physical vitality. Protecting energy for the highest priorities is a daily practice of self-respect and strategic decision-making, ensuring that effort, creativity, and focus are consistently applied where they matter most. When energy is consciously preserved and allocated, the result is not just productivity, but excellence, mastery, and meaningful achievement that compounds over time. Number 8. Say no to everything unnecessary. Every yes has a cost. Time, energy, focus, and momentum are finite, and each unnecessary agreement siphons resources away from what truly matters. The habit of saying yes indiscriminately often masquerades as cooperation, kindness, or ambition, but in reality, it erodes the capacity to achieve meaningful results. Learning to say no to everything unnecessary is a fundamental act of self-discipline, a protective measure for priorities, and a declaration of control over one's own life. It is not rejection of opportunity in principle, but a deliberate choice to allocate resources where they have the greatest impact. The first step in mastering no is clarity about priorities. Understanding what is essential, what advances long-term goals, and what aligns with personal values provides a compass for decision-making. Without this clarity, every request or suggestion becomes a potential distraction. When priorities are explicit, the cost of unnecessary commitments is immediately visible: wasted hours, fragmented focus, and delayed progress on what truly matters. No becomes an empowered response rooted in purpose, not fear or ego. Recognize the psychological barriers to saying no. Many people fear conflict, disappointment, or judgment. Others feel guilt for refusing requests, even when compliance undermines their own objectives. These reactions are natural but must be overridden by the awareness that every unnecessary yes diminishes potential for achievement. True discipline requires embracing discomfort in the short term to preserve freedom and capacity in the long term. Saying no is a protective act, not a personal failing. Develop a system for evaluating requests quickly. Before agreeing to anything, pause and ask, does this advance my highest priorities or values? If the answer is unclear or negative, the response should be no. Avoid rationalizing or over-explaining. Clarity and decisiveness communicate respect for both your own time and that of others. Unnecessary engagements, when left unchecked, accumulate invisibly and erode energy. A decisive refusal frees mental bandwidth immediately, reducing stress and increasing focus on essential tasks. Refuse trivial commitments early and consistently. Minor interruptions, unplanned meetings, casual requests, or social obligations appear insignificant individually, but collectively erode momentum. Each unnecessary engagement divides attention and drains willpower. Saying no preemptively prevents small drains from becoming major barriers to progress. Consistency reinforces both internal resolve and external expectations. People learn that your time is dedicated, scarce, and protected, and they begin to respect the boundaries you set. Embrace direct and firm communication. A simple, polite refusal often suffices. Elaborate justifications or excessive apology weaken the power of no and invite negotiation. Clarity and brevity convey respect for your own priorities while maintaining professionalism and cordiality. Mastery of this skill protects energy, reduces cognitive load, and reinforces a mindset focused on high-value activity. Saying no is not a rejection of people, but a disciplined alignment with purpose. Anticipate resistance and maintain consistency. Requests will sometimes come from those unaccustomed to hearing no. Some may pressure, cajole, or appeal to emotion. The disciplined response remains unchanged. Unnecessary engagements are declined with calm firmness. Over time, consistency builds credibility and protects freedom. Each no reinforces boundaries and strengthens the ability to remain focused on the work that matters most, creating an environment where priorities can flourish without sentient interruption. Combine no with proactive planning. When unnecessary activities are declined, time and energy must be redirected intentionally toward meaningful objectives. Scheduling high-priority tasks, blocking focus periods, and allocating resources deliberately ensures that refusal translates into productive action rather than idle time. The power of no is fully realized only when it clears space for progress, rather than leaving emptiness or distraction to fill the void. Practice small, controlled no's to strengthen discipline. Begin with low-stakes situations. minor requests from colleagues, casual social invitations, or optional errands. Repetition in manageable contexts builds confidence and habituates the mind to prioritization. As the skill develops, it becomes natural to refuse higher-stakes distractions without hesitation. Mastery grows incrementally, and each successful refusal reinforces identity as someone who protects time, energy, and focus relentlessly. Recognize the ripple effects of unnecessary compliance. Every trivial yes creates a precedent. Obligations multiply, expectations rise, and the burden on time and energy escalates. Saying no prevents these snowballing consequences, maintaining control over the day and long-term trajectory. Each refusal protects not only immediate resources, but also the integrity of future opportunities and engagements. Discipline is proactive, anticipating accumulation rather than reacting to chaos. Align refusals with vision. Every no should serve a larger purpose, safeguarding the execution of meaningful goals. This perspective transforms refusal from negative denial into a positive, strategic act. By linking each decision to long-term objectives, the act of saying no becomes empowering rather than restrictive, reinforcing commitment to personal and professional growth. The mind internalizes that boundaries are pathways to progress, not barriers to connection. Develop rituals for initiating refusal. Some unnecessary requests appear at predictable times or in habitual formats, such as morning emails, casual calls, or recurring meetings. Predefined scripts or mental frameworks simplify the act of declining, reducing hesitation and conserving energy. These rituals allow for consistent and effortless boundary enforcement while minimizing cognitive strain. Repetition strengthens both efficiency and psychological comfort with the discipline of refusal. Balance no with selective acceptance. Saying no does not imply rejecting all opportunities. Essential and high-value engagements should be embraced fully and without reservation. The contrast between refusal of the trivial and acceptance of the vital heightens focus, clarifies intent, and directs energy strategically. Discrimination between what truly matters and what is superficial ensures that resources are invested where they generate maximum return. Reinforce self-trust through consistent refusal. Each disciplined no strengthens confidence in one's judgment and decision-making capacity. Over time, this builds resilience against pressure, impulsive compliance, and distractions masquerading as obligations. Self-trust becomes a compounding asset, enhancing clarity, decisiveness, and effectiveness in all areas of life. Boundaries evolve from external enforcement into internalized, instinctive practice. Observe the cumulative impact over time. Saying no consistently transforms schedules, mental clarity, and life trajectory. Tasks that once felt overwhelming are manageable because energy is preserved. Goals that seemed distant are within reach because attention is directed where it produces tangible results. The discipline of refusal magnifies the power of action, demonstrating that control over what is accepted shapes the entire experience of productivity, focus, and fulfillment. Ultimately, saying no to everything unnecessary is a declaration of autonomy. It affirms that your time, energy, and focus are intentional resources, and that only commitments aligned with purpose will be granted access. It cultivates clarity, preserves vitality, and amplifies the impact of every choice. Mastery of this skill transforms life from reactive survival to deliberate creation, ensuring that each day is guided by conscious priorities rather than the endless demands of the trivial and unessential. Number 9. Replace comfort habits with discipline. Comfort is seductive. It whispers that ease and familiarity are the path to satisfaction. yet it often leads to stagnation, wasted potential, and missed opportunity. Habits rooted in comfort, procrastination, avoidance, indulgence, or reliance on convenience provide temporary relief, but erode long-term growth. Discipline, by contrast, demands deliberate action, persistence, and resistance to short-term impulses, and it is the foundation of meaningful achievement. Replacing comfort habits with discipline is the essential practice for anyone animate to mastery of self, productivity, and purpose. The first step is awareness. Observe daily routines and identify behaviors that exist primarily for comfort rather than contribution. These might include scrolling endlessly on social media, postponing difficult tasks, seeking constant entertainment, or clinging to familiar but unproductive routines. Acknowledging these habits without judgment is crucial. The goal is to understand the patterns that drain energy, time, and focus. Awareness is not passive observation, but the first active step toward change. Once identified, analyze the consequences. Comfort habits may feel harmless in isolation, but their cumulative effect is significant. Delaying critical work, avoiding challenges, or indulging in fleeting pleasures diminishes mental resilience, delays progress toward goals, and reinforces dependency on external gratification. Discipline requires recognizing the cost of comfort and reframing choices in terms of long-term value rather than immediate ease. Each avoided responsibility or repeated indulgence carries a silent tax on future potential. Begin small, replacing one comfort habit at a time. Transformation is most sustainable when incremental rather than abrupt. Select a single behavior that undermines productivity or growth and substitute a disciplined alternative. For instance, instead of reaching for your phone first thing in the morning, spend 5 minutes planning the day or completing a small task aligned with priorities. Repetition of these small, conscious choices trains the mind to favor discipline over convenience, gradually rewiring behavior patterns and internal responses to temptation. Anchor new habits to specific cues. Contextual triggers enhance the likelihood of successful replacement. For example, if habitual snacking occurs when boredom strikes, pre-plan a brief walk or physical exercise to redirect energy. If procrastination arises when a challenging task looms, begin with a tiny, manageable step at a predetermined time. Discipline thrives when external cues are structured to encourage productive action rather than relying solely on willpower in moments of temptation. Build rituals around discipline. Consistency is reinforced through predictable, intentional practices. Morning routines, scheduled work blocks, and deliberate pauses for reflection provide structure that diminishes reliance on fleeting comfort. Rituals reduce decision fatigue by automating the initiation of disciplined behavior, allowing the mind to focus on execution rather than deliberation. Over time, these rituals form the backbone of a disciplined identity, making purposeful action habitual and almost effortless. Expect resistance. Comfort habits are deeply ingrained, and the mind will instinctively resist change. Cravings for ease, distraction, or immediate gratification are natural but temporary. Discipline is forged by acting despite discomfort. Each deliberate action taken against the pull of comfort strengthens resolve, trains willpower, and builds resilience. Progress often feels slow initially, but repetition compounds over time, turning small victories into a foundation for sustained personal and professional growth. Leverage accountability to reinforce new behaviors. Publicly committing to a disciplined practice, partnering with a mentor, or tracking daily adherence increases the likelihood of maintaining change. External reinforcement supplements internal motivation, providing social or structural pressure that discourages relapse into comfort. Accountability transforms abstract intentions into measurable outcomes, making the adoption of discipline tangible and reliable. Replace passive leisure with restorative discipline. Not all comfort is harmful. The challenge is distinguishing between indulgent avoidance and purposeful rest. Incore activities that restore energy, sharpen focus, or improve skills, such as reading, exercise, meditation, or deliberate reflection, rather than passive consumption like endless scrolling or excessive entertainment. Purposeful habits refresh the mind and body while reinforcing self-control, making discipline both sustainable and rewarding. Redefine success in terms of effort rather than immediate comfort. Discipline is reinforced when focus shifts from avoiding discomfort to embracing growth. Viewing challenges as opportunities to strengthen resilience reframes the discomfort of change as a tool rather than an obstacle. Each resisted impulse, completed task, or practiced skill becomes evidence of self-mastery, creating a positive feedback loop that motivates further disciplined action. Anticipate environmental and social triggers that reinforce comfort habits. Surroundings and associations often dictate behavior more than conscious intention. Identify elements that promote avoidance, distraction, or indulgence, and replace them with structures that support disciplined behavior. This might include decluttering spaces, removing temptations, or associating with individuals who prioritize purposeful action. Discipline is cultivated not only through personal effort, but through deliberate design of the environment and relationships. Celebrate incremental victories. Discipline is not instantaneous, it is cultivated over time through consistent effort. Recognizing progress, no matter how small, reinforces identity as someone capable of self-control and high achievement. Each day that comfort is replaced with deliberate action is a step toward mastery, and acknowledgement of these moments sustains momentum. Motivation is fueled by evidence of capability, and disciplined practice generates repeated proof of growth. Practice self-reflection regularly. Examine the choices made each day and assess alignment with long-term objectives. Identify moments where comfort prevailed over discipline, analyze triggers, and strategize alternatives for future situations. Reflection transforms experience into insight, ensuring that learning from small failures strengthens resilience rather than leading to discouragement. Discipline is reinforced through continuous evaluation and conscious refinement of behavior patterns. Integrate discipline into identity. True transformation occurs when disciplined behavior becomes part of self-concept rather than a series of imposed actions. Internalize the notion that consistent, purposeful effort defines character, performance, and potential. Identity-driven discipline persists even when external motivation wanes, creating durable resilience against habitual comfort and passive tendencies. The mind begins to seek disciplined action as natural and expected, rather than resisting it as burdensome. Recognize that discomfort is a signal of growth. Resistance, challenge, or unease often accompanies disciplined behavior, indicating that the mind and body are expanding beyond familiar limits. Instead of retreating to comfort, interpret these signals as markers of progress. Each uncomfortable choice strengthens willpower, reinforces new habits, and develops the capacity to pursue increasingly ambitious objectives. Discipline transforms discomfort from a deterrent into a tool for development. Finally, embrace the long-term perspective. Comfort habits provide temporary satisfaction, but erode the foundation for significant easement. Discipline compounds over months and years, creating exponential benefits that far outweigh fleeting indulgence. Replacing comfort with deliberate action is a lifelong practice, and consistency is the ultimate determinant of success. Every small act of self-control, every deliberate choice over convenience, and every disciplined routine accumulates into mastery, independence, and a life defined by meaningful accomplishments rather than the illusions of ease. Number 10. Design environment to enforce action. The environment shapes behavior far more than most people realize. Surroundings influence focus, energy, motivation, and ultimately the ability to act consistently toward meaningful goals. When the environment is neutral or disorganized, it silently encourages distraction, hesitation, and procrastination. By designing spaces and systems that enforce action, it becomes possible to direct effort efficiently, minimize friction, and create conditions in which disciplined execution is the natural outcome. Action becomes the path of least resistance, and in this alignment, consistent achievement becomes almost inevitable. Start by removing barriers to action. Physical clutter, digital distractions, and ambiguous systems create mental friction that slows progress. When materials, tools, and information are scattered, energy is wasted simply in organizing or locating what is needed. Streamlining the workspace, arranging items logically, eliminating unnecessary objects, and creating dedicated zones for specific activities reduces cognitive load and makes initiation immediate and effortless. When the environment signals readiness, the mind responds by moving directly into productive behavior. Visual cues are a powerful mechanism for enforced action. Placing reminders, checklists, or progress indicators in prominent locations prompts engagement without relying solely on willpower. For example, a visible notebook for daily goals, a whiteboard for tracking tasks, or sticky notes highlighting priority actions all provide constant passive encouragement. The brain reacts to these cues automatically. Seeing them reinforces awareness of commitments and nudges behavior toward execution, creating a feedback loop that maintains momentum. Structure the environment to minimize temptation. Distractions often lurk within arm's reach. Smartphones, notifications, unnecessary websites, or idle entertainment options. Removing or restricting access to these elements prevents energy leaks and preserves focus for meaningful tasks. Even small interventions, such as placing the phone in another room, using website blockers, or setting up a dedicated workspace free from unrelated stimuli, dramatically increase the likelihood of sustained concentration and follow-through. Leverage spatial design to signal purpose. Physical spaces carry implicit messages to the mind. A desk arranged with clear boundaries, dedicated zones for work versus leisure, and areas free of clutter subtly communicates the expectation of action. The mind internalizes these cues, responding to environmental signals as triggers for appropriate behavior. Intentional arrangement reinforces habits and minimizes the need for conscious effort, making productivity automatic rather than forced. Integrate temporal organization with spatial design. Environments can be configured to guide not only what action occurs, but when it occurs. Blocking off periods in advance, aligning workspaces with specific time windows, and maintaining consistent schedules create predictable patterns that support disciplined execution. When the environment signals, "This is the time and place for this action," hesitation diminishes and initiation occurs naturally. Combining spatial and temporal cues amplifies their effect. Simplify decision-making through environmental design. Every choice requires energy, and unnecessary decisions erode focus and reduce the capacity to act on important tasks. Pre-arranging materials, defining workflows, and creating routines reduces the need for constant deliberation. For instance, having all required tools prepared for a project, laying out the day's tasks in advance, or pre-selecting workout clothing eliminates micro-decisions that sap mental resources. A well-designed environment minimizes resistance and allows energy to be devoted entirely to execution. Use habit stacking in environmental setup. Associate specific locations with particular actions so that behavior becomes almost reflexive. If a desk is exclusively used for writing, sitting there automatically triggers writing behavior. If a kitchen counter is only used for meal preparation, entering it cues cooking rather than grazing or distraction. Habit stacking anchors new behaviors to existing environmental stimuli, enforcing action through context and repetition rather than relying purely on conscious effort. Incorporate feedback mechanisms into the environment. Visible evidence of progress or lack thereof motivates continued engagement. This might include charts tracking completed work, checklists showing tasks done, or visual milestones representing long-term goals. Feedback reinforces accountability and sustains energy by making abstract objectives tangible. When the environment communicates achievement clearly, motivation is self-reinforcing and follow-through becomes embedded in the context itself. Design for minimal friction in desired actions. Make it easier to do what matters and harder to do what doesn't. For example, keep workout equipment in plain sight while storing distractions out of reach, or set up an organized digital workspace for projects while limiting access to social media during work sessions. The path of least resistance should always lead to action aligned with priorities. The environment acts as a silent guide, subtly nudging choices in the direction of meaningful accomplishment. Leverage environmental accountability. Sharing workspace or tracking progress visibly in communal settings enhances commitment to action. Peer awareness or structured reporting can amplify discipline as the environment itself becomes a system of enforcement. Even solo setups benefit from cues that signal obligations, such as visible progress boards or scheduled notifications, creating external structure that complements internal resolve. Plan for resilience against interruptions. Even well-designed environments are vulnerable to unexpected disturbances. Anticipating and mitigating potential disruptions preserves flow. Noise-canceling tools, isolated work areas, and clear signaling to others regarding availability maintain conditions conducive to action. Resilience in the environment ensures that even when external factors attempt to derail progress, the designed system keeps focus intact. Use sensory triggers to reinforce productivity. Lighting, temperature, and sound influence alertness, mood, and cognitive performance. Bright, natural light can enhance focus. Ambient noise or specific playlists can support sustained engagement. Ergonomic seating preserves energy for prolonged work. Sensory elements of the environment act as catalysts, not merely background, influencing readiness for action and sustaining mental and physical stamina. Continuously refine the environment based on observation. Regular assessment of how spaces, tools, and systems affect behavior allows iterative improvement. Identify friction points, sources of distraction, and areas that encourage inertia, and adjust accordingly. A dynamic, responsive environment evolves alongside goals, maintaining alignment with priorities and reinforcing disciplined action. Stagnant or poorly adapted spaces undermine progress, while deliberate refinement strengthens execution and efficiency. Anchor environment to identity and purpose. Spaces and systems should reflect personal values and priorities, reinforcing the desired self-image. A workspace that embodies focus, organization, and professionalism signals to the mind that the behaviors associated with those traits are expected and natural. Environmental alignment with identity transforms discipline into instinct, embedding action within the context of who you are and who you aim to become. Finally, recognize that the environment is not passive. It is an active participant in success. By structuring physical, digital, and temporal spaces to remove friction, provide cues, offer feedback, and support priorities, action is enforced without constant reliance on willpower. Discipline is magnified when surroundings guide behavior naturally. Through thoughtful environmental design, effort becomes more efficient, focus becomes more consistent, and high-value goals are pursued with clarity, energy, and unstoppable momentum. The right environment transforms intention into action and makes consistent, meaningful achievement the default state of daily life.